All right, we're back on the Young Turks, everybody. Ben here in Los Angeles. Cenk is in New York. He will be hosting tomorrow on MSNBC at 2 o'clock Eastern and then again at 4 o'clock Eastern. Is that right, Cenk?
Totally wrong. Nope.
All right. Well,
but close. You got 4 o'clock right.
Cenk will be hosting and 6 o'clock.
Yeah. 4 o'clock is Dylan Radigan's show. I'm going to be a host that first, and then pop over to Ed Schultz's show at 6 o'clock. So, double Cenk. I don't know how that. I don't know, that might be a good thing or a bad thing, but there it is.
All right. So obviously we're at Thursday. It's day 2 of post the disaster of Tuesday. Barack Obama still sounds like a child who has had his favorite toy taken from him by John Boehner and Mitch McConnell. But he's trying to put a brave face on it. It actually sounds like the father of the boy who'd had his toy stolen, and he's trying to explain why it's all going to be okay, even though the truth is the toy is gone forever. So let's listen to Barack Obama today at the is it today or yesterday at the press conference? Sorry, yesterday at his press conference, talking about how and giving us some little encouragement that maybe he will stand and fight the Republicans who are clearly ready to fight him and not accept his olive branch. Let's start with clip 3.
I think that people were excited about the campaign was the prospect that we would change how business is done in Washington. And we were in such a hurry to get things done that we didn't change how things got done. And I think that frustrated people. I'm a strong believer that the earmarking process in Congress isn't what the American people really want to see when it comes to making tough decisions about how taxpayer dollars are spent. And I, in the rush to get things done, had to sign a bunch of bills that had earmarks in them, which was contrary to what I had talked about. And I think, folks look at that and they said, gosh, this feels like the same partisan squabbling. This seems like the same ways of doing business as happened before. And so, one of the things that I've got to take responsibility for is not having moved enough on those fronts.
I'm going to rescind my thought that actually makes it sound like he might do something. I take it you agree, Jay?
Yeah, the reason I got hopeful at the beginning of that clip, and I even tweeted this out yesterday because I love the quote so much, is he said, as we were trying to get things done, we forgot to change how things get done, right? And that's such a great beginning. And then it turns out he meant, no, we had too much partisan squabbling.
Yeah.
Oh, for the love of Christ. No, but that wasn't you. It was them, and you're setting yourself up for that same failure. God, have you learned nothing?
Yeah, I think, and I mean, it would appear, look, we're, unless this is part of some strategy to clearly suggest that the Republicans now have an opportunity to do something, and won't, and we know they won't, that then the administration will be able to point out how obstructionist they are. I suspect that is the plan here. I don't think that that's going to give you the sort of, give many people the aggression and the combativeness for a just cause that we're looking for, but that seems pretty clearly to be the strategy, because they're not dumb and they don't think they're actually going to work with the Republicans, but they're still trying to take the high ground. And obviously what they're going to come back and say is that these guys have, these guys won't do anything. They've railroaded us. What are we supposed to do? And hope that's going to be enough in 2012.
But you know what, Ben? There's two dangers there. One, that's what we thought they were going to do for the last 2 years. At some point, we thought they were going to make that turn at some point, but they never made the turn, and they just kept on going with Republicans, we're trying to reach out to you. And then number two, even if they finally got that message, but they're waiting for an appropriate time to make that turn, after the election results, I would find that logical and normal politics, right, as we've discussed before. But if they wait too long, then they're in trouble again, right? Because then you're going to run into the same problem they ran this time, which is the Republicans got their message out for 2 years, and the Democrats got their message out for just the 2 months before the election, and it proved to be completely not enough.
Yeah, I'm not even sure the Republicans had a particular message, but yes, they were certainly talking more aggressively and driving home the point that these guys were. If their message was that these guys are a bunch of crazy socialists, then yes, they got their message out. It's just
no, but Ben, you know what their message is. It's it's big government is all your problems, because you got all these problems, and the Republicans are great at blaming somebody, right?
No, that's
whether it's immigrants, Muslims, etc. And they blame the government. And since nobody countered, people were like, oh, I don't know, I guess it's the government. Yeah, sure, all right, I'll vote that way.
No, I agree. That's what I was essentially saying. I mean, they're essentially saying the government is run by a bunch of socialists and it's responsible for all your problems.
Right. And, Alan Grayson had this stunning fact that I didn't know about his district. I asked him, look, let's get real. You're a real fighter, but you lost too. And that was on the 3 o'clock show today on MSNBC. And he said that actually Republican turnout was 20% lower in this election than it was in '08. Now, it's a midterm, so that makes some degree of sense. He said Democratic turnout was 60% lower.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, this isn't a problem of some local area. He's like, it's nationwide. There was, of the people who won by less than 10 percentage points, so in purple districts, and that includes Grayson, he only won by 4 last time. He said, of the 24 congressmen that were in that category, 23 of them lost.
Yeah. Well, that's that was part of a very well thought out, incorrectly thought out, but I mean a well planned. I don't think it was a good philosophy from the Obama administration to try to re-motivate, what we know as 2008 surge voters, people who didn't usually participate but got really excited about Barack Obama and sort of what they perceived to be a new message and turned out and vote. And instead of sort of trying to motivate typical midterm election voters who pay a lot more attention this time and who were obviously very discouraged, the administration attempted to reignite those surge voters from 2008. Those people don't vote in midterm elections, and they didn't vote again. And while you were doing that, you ignored delivering a message to the voters who actually show up in midterm elections. And the result are those numbers that you see that Grayson talked about of 60% fewer Democratic voters in the 2010 elections and only 20% fewer Republicans. Is a tactical decision made by the administration that failed, but that may well help him in 2012. But in the meantime, it's been a catastrophe for the party in 2010.
Right, and Glenn Greenwald was on Dylan Radigan's show today with me at the top of the show, and he made a really good point about that. He said, look, part of the reason they didn't show up is because Barack Obama had this army of people behind him in 2008, and they were so excited, and they had put aside their cynicism, probably for the first time in their lives about politics, for a lot of them, right? And then when Obama squandered that excitement by doing the same kind of backroom deals with the drug companies, et cetera, he's like, well, of course they weren't going to show up. I mean, you burned out the one thing they had, which was a little bit of hope in the system that you can get a politician who can change the system. And when he didn't go for the change, well, I mean, it's not their fault that they didn't show up. It's Obama's fault.
Right. I disagree with that. I don't disagree with it I don't disagree with the analysis of that's what Obama did. I don't think guys like Glenn Greenwald I admire him enormously, but I don't think that there is a tendency to overstate what motivated the voter, other than what we already know, other than the economy in a sense that Democrats don't know how to deal with Wall Street. I don't think there's a perception here that Barack Obama made backroom deals with the drug companies. He did, but I don't think that is something that people are aware of, because almost everyone I talk to who is politically cognizant and who voted doesn't even know that. And in fact, they argue with me about it. So I think that said, there is some truth in it that if you had taken them on publicly, then you would get an awareness of it. But I don't think he's blamed for making backroom deals by 99.9% of voters. But he didn't. But in an effort to where this is a guy who had a real opportunity to sort of show himself to be a different kind of politician, that unquestionably, where I think we'd all agree that was squandered.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, Ben. You're right. I think that people just get a sense that, hey, this isn't what we were bargaining for. But no, on the specifics, I'm sure you're right.
Yeah. All right, so then he was asked a question here at this press conference by an Associated Press reporter, and gave what as the kind of answer that makes you want to choke Barack Obama to death. Can I say that? I'm just kidding. I don't actually want to do that. It's just you get frustrated with him. I honestly don't think I'm allowed to say that. Anyway, here's the question to Obama at the press conference today from the Associated Press.
I'm going to start off with Ben Feller at AP.
Are you willing to concede at all that what happened last night was not just an expression of frustration about the economy, but a fundamental rejection of your agenda? And given the results, who do you think speaks to the true voice of the American people right now, you or John Boehner?
I think that there is no doubt that people's number one concern is the economy. And what they were expressing great frustration about is the fact that we haven't made enough progress on the economy. We've stabilized the economy. We've got job growth in the private sectors, but people all across America aren't feeling that progress. They don't see it. And they understand that I'm the President of the United States and that my core responsibility is making sure that we've got an economy that's growing, a middle class that feels secure, that jobs are being created. And so I think I've got to take direct responsibility for the fact that we have not made as much progress as we need to make. Now, moving forward, I think the question is going to be, can Democrats and Republicans sit down together and come up with a set of ideas that address those core concerns? I'm confident that we can.
Oh, my God. Boy, he is inspirational sometimes, isn't he?
Yeah, it's very frustrating. And by the way, I'm pretty sure you cannot say what you said earlier.
No, I'm pretty sure. I just figuratively, someone who gave that answer, I would want to shake some sense into.
All right, that's better.
Yeah.
And for the record, I denounce and reject you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, now going on to the real issue here. Look, it's frustrating because, you know, I mean, look, I've been saying it all day. I've been saying it all for 2 years. He's got to fight back. It's a good question. It's a reasonable question to ask him, and he's got to step up and do better than that. Just not like that seems like a concession speech.
It does. A whole press conference sounded like a concession speech. I don't. You ever see the movie The American President, Cenk? You must have, with Michael Douglas and Annette Bening.
Oh yeah, of course.
Michael J. Fox is in it. He's the you in the movie. You know, and you got Richard Dreyfuss plays the sort of hybrid of, like, you know, Mitch McConnell and Bill O'Reilly, the sort of hideous conservative who just sort of mentions things that could be interpreted certain. Like, I'm not saying that the president is sort of paying for sex from Annette Bening. I'm just saying it's out there and we should dismiss it, unquestionably, right? And he doesn't want to do anything because he wants to be above it. Michael Douglas does. And Michael J. Fox is telling him all movie, you got to punch him back. You got to punch him in the face. And then when he does, when he stands up for himself, in this case, not so much for policy, but himself, there's this thunderous reaction. I know it's a movie, but wouldn't it be fantastic is when he's asked a question by Ben Feller of the Associated Press, who do you think speaks to the true voice of the American people, you or John Boehner, that he doesn't say, and I don't know what district John Boehner is, but he doesn't say, let me tell you something. Last night was a bad night for Democrats, and we're going to react to that. But John Boehner represents the 16th District of Ohio. I'm the President of the United States, and 74 million people voted for me. And I have a responsibility to lead, and I'm going to lead, and that doesn't mean selling out on my principles. But don't ask me again whether who speaks for the American people, me or John Boehner. I'm the President of the United States, bitch.
Listen, when you said I'm the President of the United States, it's great. You know, it's like it's a little West Wingish, right? That's
Totally.
what you would see in West Wing, right?
Right.
But there's a reason we liked West Wing. Because
Totally.
we want our president to be like that.
Yeah, just lead a little. Act like it matters. Don't let these guys push you around. You're right, that the question's okay. But just because there's a good question doesn't mean there's not a great answer to it. And his answer couldn't have sucked more.
Agreed.
All right. some good guests coming up in the next hour, and we'll have that for you. And then we'll also hear from, we got Rachel Maddow, had Eric Cantor on. Eric Cantor talking to Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell. Also some good stuff that we'll try to get to from Newt Gingrich and Rand Paul. That's all going to come up on the second hour of the program. Cenk is in New York. I'm here in Los Angeles. All that coming up. Hey everybody, Ben Mankiewicz here. Cenk is in New York. Cenk, how's it going?
Awesome.
You know, when we were when we worked together in Miami, and we would talk politics often, and there were very few differences, even though you claimed to be a Republican. And you know, most of our conversations, as I recall them, were, you know, you knew so much about stuff, but you know, and I kept asking you, like, how do you? Have you seen who the other dudes are, like, in your party? And that was in part persuasive to you, and then circumstances just took over. But I remember that, and believe me, I'm not suggesting there was any persuasion. It was just one of the things that I'd say that got to you, at least. But I remember we talked about. I remember getting really mad when we had conversations where you were talking about liberals being soft on crime, and it's always got me mad. Just because we're here and we're talking together, I just remember that, like, in, I don't know, you know, whatever it was, sometime in 2000. And just, it's driven me crazy, because I literally don't know any person who's a Democrat who thinks, let him go. It'll be fine.
Yeah, well, listen, it'd make you really mad because you're one of those wuss liberals.
Right. That's a good point. I didn't think about it like that.
No, but, you know, in all honesty, I don't know if it's a Democrat or Republican thing for sure. And, you know, I suspect that 98% of Americans, if you say to them, hey, there's a robber in your neighborhood, should we lock them up? They say, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Or there's somebody threatening your family, do you think we should go get them? I think that number's going to go up to 99.98%. But there are some folks who are, you know, who are more sympathetic to people who have had a tough life, etc. I don't even necessarily think that's a bad thing. But, you know, I'm sympathetic to that, and I want to head that off at the pass. But if we haven't, well, then we gotta, you know, take action. And I think you totally agree with that.
Yeah, and I just think the overwhelming majority do too. I mean, and for all those people who think we should cut a break to people who have had a tough life, and I mean, I think we should cut a break to them too until they kill somebody. I mean, right. You know, or you know, or
there was there was a story on forgiveness we didn't get to today, and people say generally that they very much want to live in a more forgiving country. They want to be more forgiving themselves, et cetera, right?
Well, they want to be forgiven.
And mainly they want to be forgiven, right? Exactly, which is a big difference. But they, even in that study, they said there were certain things that they were not willing to forgive, like sex crimes, you know, and murder. And you remember my theory on this, which is that there's, you know, I'm willing to, you know, get past almost everything, but that there's certain mistakes you can't recover from.
Right.
And that's just reality. And so if you, but you know, as we were having that conversation with the author Robert in the last segment, unfortunately, a great number of the people that are in jail have not made those mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, they're nonviolent offenders, marijuana users, etc. It's mental to lock them up.
Yeah, I mean,
by the way, you know, I think people don't have an international perspective on this. Like, we are so much tougher than any other country. Like, growing up, you know, I had the impression, as I think a lot of Americans did, that Turkish justice system was so tough. I mean, God, if you're there, you know, because of Midnight Express. Oh, if you're in Turkish jail, it's terrible, and they stab you in the ass, right? Okay, maybe not that much, but it turns out, no, the Turkish penal system is 1,000,000 times softer than the American penal system.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's the impression we get, and then it turns out, no, that we have a fairly barbaric and nonsensical system. Forget the barbarism. I'll give you the barbarism in order to get to the second point, and then we'll work on the barbarism later. But what are we doing? What's the benefit of this? And we all want to catch the bad guys, but of course, I knew he was going to say it too when I asked him about the odds that George Bush killed somebody who didn't do it. and he's like, yeah, no question. But
Right.
George Bush, so certain, so positive, and he never looks at it now in any way. All right, speaking of...
No, I mean, that's obviously, Ben, that's not at the level of Kanye disrespecting you, So
No, that's
not that big a deal.
That's what would seriously offend you. So on the object that when you said that we're much tougher, here's who thinks that we showed how tough we were on Tuesday is Newt Gingrich. Still a possibility to run for president, although he's too much of an ass, I suspect. But he was on Fox with Greta Van Susteren, and he essentially gives an answer to her question about what the election means to the rest of the world. By the way, she throws Iran and France in together. The Republicans love to diss France. Like, France to the Republicans is like Jews to everybody else. You're just minding your own business. The Jews have nothing. Get the Jews! And with this, they're like, no, France. France works as an enemy. She throws it in, and Newt Gingrich gives an answer, which, as you'll hear now, is essentially the political equivalent of, I'm a bad man. I'm a very bad man. Here's Newt.
The rest of the world thought or is thinking, looking at our elections. I know they pay attention to our elections. What do you think these major countries, Iran, France, any of these countries, what are they thinking?
I think this was a real signal to the world not to assume that the United States is a weak, timid country, not to assume that we're going to tolerate bad economic policies, and not to assume that we're a country you're going to be able to push around or run over, because I think the American people are exhibiting a robust willingness to change the entire game, and that's a pretty good historic reminder to other countries that we are a remarkably powerful and, if necessary, remarkably dangerous country when people try to behave in a predatory way towards it.
We're a dangerous country. That guy wants to run for president. That's his big campaign pitch, that we're a dangerous country. That should be our motto. We should put that on bumper stickers. Like, so crazy you can't control us. We just might. We don't know. We can't control ourselves.
Well, I'll go a step further. He thinks that we've shown that because the Republicans won. So I guess his slogan is, the Republican Party, remarkably dangerous.
Exactly right. That's what, by the way, if the equivalent had been done, they'd make that ad. But, of course, we would never do that because it's not quite what he said. We don't really want to take it out of context. And then what's with the Iran and France bit? Some of these other countries, Iran, France.
No, that's a great catch on your part. I didn't even hear that the first time around. But to them, what's the difference? Same thing, un-American people,
It's a
and by the way, I just love the idea of somebody sitting around, whether it's in Paris or Tehran, saying, the Americans will not stand for bad economic policy. They are remarkably dangerous.
Yeah, that's right. Remarkable. Bad economic policies. I mean, really, Newt Gingrich, why are we paying for this? Why did we get hit with this economy? I mean, because, yes, you're right, because of horribly bad economic policies. And we know where those came from, and that's not politics. But, I'm glad. I did make a great catch on the Iran-France thing, but it's not random. Even if Greta Van Susteren thought of it randomly, it is part of a idea that Fox and the Limbaughs and the rest of those clowns have come up with. It's subtle because it suggests in asking that question, what does the rest of the world think? Iran, France. That those people who we love to hate, that not only are the terrorists in Iran for Obama, but so are those good-for-nothing peaceniks, lazy bastards in France. There's a reason those two were asked, because those countries, in Greta Van Susteren world and in Fox's world, those countries support Barack Obama.
Yeah, those frogs, old Europe.
Right.
You know
totally.
how they are.
Yeah. Right.
They wouldn't even support us in going to war in Iraq, and look at how good that turned out.
Yeah, got him. Okay, so here's the other good news, Jenkins. I'm sure you'll be pleased to know, and you should tell this to your pals at MSNBC, to stop the class warfare, because there are no rich people, there are no middle-class people, there are no poor people. So enough with the distinctions, explained by Rand Paul.
What if they just raise taxes on the richest, those making more than $250,000 a year?
Well, the thing is we're all interconnected. There are no rich, there are no middle class, there are no poor. We all are interconnected in the economy. You remember a few years ago when they tried to tax the yachts? That didn't work. You know who lost their jobs? The people making the boats. The guys making $50,000 and $60,000 a year lost their jobs. We all either work for rich people or we sell stuff to rich people. So just punishing rich people is as bad for the economy as punishing anyone. Let's not punish anyone.
Yeah. In a sense, Cenk, you got to admire Rand Paul because he's confident enough to go back to the yacht tax.
Yeah, no, he's awesome because, first of all, it'll come as a great relief to poor people that there are no poor people.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a load off my mind. I thought I was poor. It turns out, no, I can go make a yacht for somebody. I'll be all right.
No, totally. It's like you hear the Rand Paul vote and you're like, oh my God, I'm living on welfare, but screw this. I'm going to go buy a BMW. I'm not poor.
And I mean, get a load of the set on this guy saying, look, yeah, I'm going to give tax cuts to the rich so they can buy yachts.
Right, exactly, because that helps poor people. And if you can't see that, man, you're just blind. And if you are blind, you should come see me at my office. I'm Rand Paul.
The only problem for him is that there are no blind people and there are no seeing people.
That's right, exactly.
Only people who buy yachts.
That's funny. There are no blind people. There are no people with glasses. There are no people with perfect sight. There are just people on yachts. All right, Cenk. Tomorrow at 4 Eastern and 6 Eastern.
Yep, filling in for Radigan and Schultz. We're going to try to give them hell.
I'm sure you will, and I look forward to how you're going to spend the hour between 5 and 6. I suspect eating. It's just a guess.
Yeah, that's an excellent guess. And tomorrow, the last Young Turks on the old set.
That's right. I'll be here with Tina Dupuis, and good things will happen. And then we'll take out some sledgehammers and we'll destroy the set live on the Young Turks. That's not going to happen.